Hey, this is Gene again. I did a 25-minute video that didn't have any sound, so I have to do this again. Hopefully it won't be as long. Um, I just want to talk about Mason Greenwood, that situation, and also about Mark Goldbridge and what he said on his show this morning. Um, I said it in my video the other day. I don't know if it's the one that got a lot of views or not. For me, anything over 100 views is a lot for me. Um, I always knew that he didn't want Greenwood back, and he pretty much made it clear this morning, which is, I guess, I should applaud him for that. It's only been 18 months for him to get to this point. However, it really didn't get to the point because he still thinks he should be able to go out on loan and then deal with it a year from now, or another 18 months, and then deal with it next year at this time. Um, so I want to talk about that a little bit, and then I want to talk about the Mason Greenwood, but not at the same area that everybody's talking about. Everybody's talking about Mason and what he did and how bad it was and all that stuff. I want to talk about his girlfriend, how we look at women and accountability in these types of situations, how we look at them as a society, and we talk about empowering females and being independent and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, we're still telling them that they should just do what the state or what we think they should do instead of what she wants to do at this point, apparently, is to stay with him because there is congratulations in order because they had their baby on Sunday, just a couple days ago. And I'm very happy for them. I hope that that was just a pump in the road, that they're going to have a great relationship and have more babies and be happy together. And that's all we can ever be happy for is people who are together, that there are going to be issues. And as a society, we shouldn't judge them all the time. Now, clearly what he did was allegedly is not good. And I'll talk about that a little bit, but everybody that will come to this channel who knows about Mason Greenwood, has seen or heard the audio, has seen the pictures. I want to talk about how that can be not fabricated, not the audio. The audio is what it is. Because clearly he thought that at that point that she was just an object that he just wanted to have sex with. And there's some issues there, and I think it's all related to a lot of things that were going on at that time. The fact that he's a young man, she's a young woman, all that stuff can be in play there. How we look at the power dynamic, whatever you want to call it. I don't go to feminist theory and that shit because I don't believe in it, but there is always this, and how women try to manipulate and have control in a relationship as well. So that's an avenue I'm going to talk about. So just very little about Mark this morning. I've got some comments from people, not much. I mean, I got like 30 more subscribers, and I think Mark probably gets 30 subscribers every 10 minutes on his channel. So the guy's like, some of the comments are like, I'm trying to get more clout by putting his name in it. Now, Mark Goldbridge, the pseudonym Mark Goldbridge, because that's not his real name, he's a public figure. He has 400 or 4 million people follow him on his different platforms. He goes on Talk Sports, so he's a public figure, and he can be criticized online. There's nothing wrong with that. I do it in a respectful way. He's never responded to anything I said. This is not the first time I've called him out. I called him out Luke Shaw years ago, and also about David De Gea. So most people, it's a 50-50 on both of those on my videos, and that was probably one of the more views of mine. But in between that, I did hundreds of other videos. So I'm not just by putting his name in there. It's just I want to have the conversation on my channel, because normally I don't get a whole lot of conversation on what I talk about, because people they got their hands or head in the sand about what's happening in the West. So they don't want to talk about that. They just want to live in denial. They want their phone. They want to be able to go to Walmart or whatever, and that's their life. And the old dude in me wants to say there's more than just that. So as far as Mason Greenwood is, nobody will defend the audio whatsoever. But at some point we have to say, as a society, how do we look at women? Now, she was young. She still is young. Um, she made this allegation. I guess at some point that she stayed away from him. She got some sort of a restraining order from him. But somewhere along the time, they got back together because, like I said, they just had their baby. So 9 months ago, they actually had a sexual air or a time. So what happened between 18 months ago when I think Mark had already made his decision that he never wanted Mason to play with Manchester United anymore based on his experiences as a father, as a man, that uh, that never should happen, that type of thing, and it's fair. And what she did and decided to stay back with him, and then eventually 4 or 5 months after she got pregnant, all of a sudden the case just went away because the state has to have the witness as well most of the time. I think what happens is that people want to equate her with other women that have been involved in similar situations. Now she had some evidence, which is fair, and Mark talked about it as well. That way too much in Britain and the United States, we hear this from the women's advocacy groups that we don't prosecute and convict a lot of sexual assault. Well, a lot of things happens here. A lot of times women will no longer want to have it happen, and then or the evidence are not always very powerful, and sometimes women lie, and people don't want to have that conversation because women have always lied. This is nothing new. There's a reason why, as on the Eastern cultures and the Middle Eastern cultures, they don't always believe what women say, and they end up getting punished really harshly. Not that I approve of that, but women have lied about slavery and having sex with slaves and then saying, oh no, I was raped. And then you had lynch mobs, or just even in Europe, there in England, they've had accusations, and then all of a sudden there's a lynch mob and a guy gets pulled out and he's killed or beat the shit out of based on an allegation from somebody. And there are people that actually responded to Ryan or Mark this morning saying we shouldn't care. Whatever the accusation is that we need to do this, get rid of them. Well, that's not how it works, okay? Because let me tell you, in my experience, women don't always tell the truth. I've seen several things in my lifetime, being leaders in the military, that women will fabricate evidence. And I'm not saying it happened in this specific case, but I've seen it happening. They'll fake a picture. If all we had was that picture, I wouldn't. There would be no issue at all that I would say he would not be playing for Manchester United, because women do this all the time, and people don't want to hear that. Women have known that this is how they get back. They can have power in a relationship, is to do things like this, because physically and normally, not financially, they don't have that power. So they do it verbally and other things. So I had this conversation with my wife. I let her listen to the video or the audio. She said there still has to be accountability on her side. We don't know nothing happened before that. We don't know anything happened after that. And also, it doesn't excuse what he did. But we just can't continually say, we just look at this one part in their life that it should be blown up as the worst thing that ever happened in their life. No, he shouldn't do it, okay? And as men, we don't want to do it because most men don't want to do it. The left that talks about empowering females and all that stuff, they say that mostly all men have this in them. We're all toxic in this way. So they'll push this narrative, and then they'll say, well, we can't do anything about it. Well, they never go to jail, and they don't do this because women end up going back to them. But they don't talk about that part of it. And that's what I'll talk about here. What did she figure out? Is she so naive that she's going to go back? I mean, she's one of those rare instances where she could have just left him. She would have been able to get money from the Daily Mirror, whatever. And she could have like a whole little series in there for the next 2 months about how he did this to him. And she would get thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds, maybe up to $1 million. Could have got a book, could have been part of a women's rights thing. She could have been talking around the town saying, we're going to talk about these toxic footballers. And she would have been taken care of financially. She would have been looking at it as a heroine in the community. But for some reason, she decided that she wanted to stay with him. Now that maybe that decision came later, but the question is, why were they together? I mean, they've always been together. I don't know their background, or she's one of those girls that would hang out by Carrington watching these academy kids, and then saying that she's a nice looking girl. That this is what she wants. She wants to be a footballer's wife. I mean, there are shows in England, and we can see them here in the United States, that glorify that position. We have it like for NBA wives as well. So she's a product of her time. Again, it doesn't excuse what he said to her. We don't know why they got together. Was it all sexual in the beginning? I mean, we have to look at the time frame. This was during COVID. These are young people. There are so many avenues this could go without looking at him and saying he's not redeemable. And I don't know him. We don't know him. She's the one who knows him the most. So at some point in the last 18 months, she said, we don't even know why she did all this. It could have, when I go down the rabbit hole, and you can, because I've seen it in my life, women will do anything if they think their husband's or boyfriend, who is at the level that he was at, making the money and the fame that he has, that if he somewhat hinted that he was going to leave, they will fabricate shit, or they will do what she did. She will record their conversations and wait for the right thing to hold over his head. And then we don't even know if that thing came later, that she showed him or the audio and then he beat her up. Now, again, it's not right, but I don't even know that actually happened. The whole thing about, I think the picture, I think, might not be real. I think that she did it to herself. I think that's just my opinion, what I've seen, where the injuries were, and how easily it is to do something like that. And she thinks that she might have needed that. And at that point, she said, well, I have to have this so I can make sure I get enough money out of him and all this stuff, something like that. And of course, her family, her father and stuff was kind of like aloof about this. I don't know. But again, we don't know, right? So the question is, if you believe the feminist hierarchy, where a woman has to be so empowered that they don't need any woman or man in their life, so that we can't judge what they're going to do, where are they now? Do they think that she's a feminist icon now because she's staying with him? Are we going to say now she's naive? Was she naive when she reported him, or not naive? Was she empowered when she did that? So at what point? I mean, I'm assuming at some point they're going to have this press conference, and I think that has to happen. I don't think it's going to happen before this season starts. I think it'll happen probably during the Christmas break or something. That might happen. He might be training with the first team or off to the side. There's other part of that too when it comes with the actual players. But this is the issue. This is the scenario you're going to see. If he ends up staying with the team, or they have this sit down with the media, and they get through that, and you're still going to have a lot of people are going to still be against him. Are you going to sit there and turn your back on him when he shows up to play and she's in the stands after she's been on TV saying that she forgives him, talks about what actually was going on at that time, and that he made a mistake, and we've been through therapy and all this stuff? I mean, these are all skeptical or things I think are probably happening. Whether it's happening or not, we don't know. Or you're just going to just continually say he's this, and he'll never be redeemed, and that means that you're looking at her as a stupid woman for staying with him, or the only reason why she's to stay with him because she'll never have money any other way, which is not true. She was, like I said in the video, or what I was just saying before, she was in that unique position to actually get a lot of money out of this, didn't do that, and stayed with him. So I get to the point now, it could be toxic, and they're so in love with each other that they're so toxic to each other, or maybe they finally have grown up. They've had the baby now. There's a picture on the Instagram thing, holding hands with him. They didn't show her, which is great, but that image is probably the reason why we're in this position right now. The baby has been born. He's probably saying, I need to provide for my kid, although he's still getting paid. And she wants to be part of that. She wants to be part of the wives of footballers, and she loves him and wants to support him and all that stuff. She wants to be in stadiums with him. She wants to support him that way. And this is why they were together anyway. And now are we going to say she's naive? Or is she trying to build her brand? Or making sure she'll be taken care of? Or she doesn't fear him? Or maybe there was something more to this, that she was pushing his buttons. This is what my wife told me. And she says, women will have these conversations with each other. They won't tell anybody, but women know there's a part where they can push a man to they get a reaction. And sometimes it's not good. You know, they think they can get to a point, then, but it depends on what's going on at that time. And like I said, we were under COVID. They're sitting in their house together. He's not being able to be physical on the field because they're not playing as much and stuff like that. And when she refuses sex with him, he says, look, it's in the audio. I asked you nicely, I want to have sex. You said no. And now I'm just, it's not right, okay? But clearly he needs some help. You would hope that he had that over the last 18 months. She's seen the changes in him, apparently. They have a baby together. What, as a society, are we just going to just say, no, he can never play this system or this game again? Because basically that's what Mark said. He's like, I would never want to play for Manchester United, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And you know what? He's right. And if he was an average player, this would not be an issue. But he had this opinion 18 months ago. He finally said it today. And he has issues when people don't agree with him. He calls them trolls, or what type of what type of community you live in, or something like that. Again, he can have that, and he's probably overall, he's probably right. But what about what she has to say and what she wants? I mean, does she want him to play in Manchester? Maybe she wants that. Maybe she wants to see his redemption to come back by being a good person, a good man in Manchester, not to go overseas and people still going to care, but they're not going to care as much. The fact he's going to face it, if they have this press conference, but he's going to face it in the stadiums. He's going to deal with the vitriol, and she's going to be there to support him. If that's the case, if they have this press conference, and she says this, I'm here to support my husband. He's made mistakes. I've made mistakes. It's not victim blaming if she says, I had some mistakes in this relationship. This is not the man he is. He made a mistake. I made a mistake. We should have been in therapy, but we were both young. Shit was going on. We're older now. We have a kid. I want to be with him. Shouldn't we just move on from it? That's all I have to say in this at this point. If she says this, she hasn't said it yet, but I'm assuming they're going to have to do it if they actually want him to be on part of the first team. And again, he's not going to play because it'll take at least 2 months to get back in his shape, unless injuries just gut the team. I don't think we're going to see him until it's going to be in a League Cup game. And the first time we might see him is after, maybe during Christmas. There'll be like a Christmas miracle. But we just got to get past, are women, are they entitled? Are they empowered? Are they independent? Or are they basically children that the state has to come in and save them from their own decisions? If she says she wants to stay with him and she wants him to stay in Manchester, maybe she's got her family there and has the baby and wants all that to happen. I mean, she hasn't said, let's move to Spain and go play there. She apparently has a little bit of fortitude herself. She's willing to go into the stadiums with her husband, with her kid that he had together, and to deal with that. And if they actually stand up in front of the media and deal with questions, I'm going to have to say, I kind of applaud for her if that happens. Okay, that's all I have to say. Hopefully this actually records an audio. I guess Mason would have helped if that didn't happen for him. But anyway, everybody needs a redemption story. Hopefully this will be for both of them and their new baby. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.